If you're looking to make a change, to get improved performance, improve your sleep, and help you with your weight loss journey, try Optimum Day and Night. Make a change as soon as you can.
And these have been a real game changer in my health journey. Optimum Day helps your metabolism burn throughout the day, and Optimum Night helps you get a really good sleep throughout the night.
And here's some real life proof on screen right now. Both Robbie and Michael Owen teamed up with Oxford Natural for their wellness journey, and you can see the results for yourself.
So if you want to start your health journey today, click the link in the description below. Get 70% off your first order with the code WATTV. Let's talk about Antonín Kinský, because we said to you yesterday they're locked in contract talks. Lyle Thomas has said that they are very close to an agreement now for a 5-year contract for Antonín Kinský, with an option to extend for a further year as well. So Spurs most definitely putting their faith in Antonín Kinský.
Yeah, Ben Jacobs also, I think, tweeted out today that he's set to sign that new deal. So I'm guessing that news is imminent. With the news that Dubravka signed officially yesterday, only makes sense. I think that we reward Kinský for his newfound status within the squad. So I'm delighted for him, and I'm really excited to see kind of how he grows as a goalkeeper. I wonder kind of how much leeway we're going to give him, because he's still a young keeper. So I think what the view should be is he's our long-term keeper. He grows with the team, and he's a young keeper who obviously not in his peak yet, but as he learns on the job, as he plays the amount of football we hope he plays, he becomes that top keeper we hope he is. I think there's obviously still doubt whether right now he's at that level. I think he's still got a lot of growing to do. But in terms of next season, like, how much leeway are we giving him? Is he like, you know, if he makes a few mistakes, is he going to be dropped? Are we going to start looking in a different direction? Or are we going to give him that time to kind of grow as a keeper as our number one?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it depends how fast the team grows, I think, as well. Like, because if we're automatically in that Champions League, or even, dare I say it, fighting for bigger things than that, which, you know, is obviously highly unlikely at this point. But if that is the case, then we're going to need top players in every position. If Spurs are still growing on like a decent trajectory, then I think they might put their faith in him for the long term. But I think when you look at Antonín Kinský, when you look at the games he's played since Roberto Zerbi has come in, where do you think he needs to improve?
I think he needs to improve a lot of aspects. He's still a very young keeper who's obviously very good and confident with the ball at his feet. That's obviously great. I think his shot stopping was pretty good in the last 7 games, but again, you know, that it's still an area I think that we're not sure about with him. I know he was good in the last 7 games, but we obviously timed up really defensively. He wasn't conceding so many shots, and next season we'll have to wait and see over a long period, a long sample size, how much that has really improved. I think set pieces he's good. I wouldn't say he's exceptional, but he's brave. He comes and gets things.
Vicario.
Yeah, I think he's brave, and that's great. But remember earlier in the season, I think it was we played Newcastle and he got really bullied. I think it was Voltmarder bullied him. So that's still a bit of a question mark, I guess, for him. So I definitely think he's brave, but is he strong enough coming for set pieces regularly to come and claim things? Is he a good enough shot stopper over a long stretch of time, over 38 games, where he's not conceding enough soft goals? Because I think that is something that Vicario is quite good at. He apart from that period where he had that hernia, he didn't really concede too many really soft goals. It had to be a pretty good goal to beat him usually, or maybe a set piece or something like that to get past him. So that's something that Kinský, I think, the jury's out on. And obviously just keep improving with his ability on the ball, which is already top notch, and that distribution is really great.
I would actually go as far as to say, in terms of the abilities, I think Vicario's positioning is better, Vicario's shot stopping is better, but all other aspects, I think Kinský's ahead. I think he's ahead in terms of defending and claiming the set pieces. I think he's stronger. I think he's much better on the ball and much better on the ball. We're talking about, you know, quite some distance. So, and the things that he's, you know, that Vicario's better than him at is all coachable, is massively coachable. And I think, you know, on the ball is coachable, but only to a certain extent. I think like Kinský is so comfortable, like he's an outfield player. So I think Kinský's got a much higher ceiling than Vicario, and I think he might even be close to him already.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
In those aspects.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I think Vicario, you got to remember he was our number one for a couple of years and playing at a pretty good level. So Kinskey's still got to go through that. And you also got to say, remember Vicario when he first came, you know, he was brilliant, and then there was a little flaw that got exposed and people started targeting him. Now, when it comes to Kinskey, he's got to go through that. He's obviously got to play the whole season as number one, and whatever flaw he has, which may be, you know, because we didn't know Vicario had that flaw, did we? Before he got exposed.
It was like Man City or Everton.
Man City, and then all of a sudden everyone started putting the ball right under him, and he started to struggle. So, but I'm saying before that, you wouldn't have said that was a major flaw of his, and then that got exposed. So I think when it comes to Kinskey, he's got to go through that whole period, and we have to see whether what gets exposed, what doesn't. Maybe there's things over the summer he's improved on which surprises us. But I agree with you when it comes to that ice cool composure that he has on the ball, and that ability to just that calmness. That is something just natural, I think, a lot of the time. And Vicario had that nervous energy about whenever he got near the ball, and that is just something, just him. That is just Vicario, and that's something you're going to have to deal with, and that's something that Kinskey doesn't have to deal with.
Yeah, but you know, all those aspects you're speaking about is the unknown. What we know so far, and what Kinskey's shown, is the facts, right? We're going into the unknown with him being a number one,
and that's a risk.
For the year. Yeah, it's a risk, but I actually think it's less of a risk than Vicario, because we actually know the flaws of Vicario, and it's not good enough for a De Zerbi keeper.
I'm not saying we should keep Vicario. I'm just saying
we know Kinskey's strengths is exactly what De Zerbi wants.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's a risk in terms of making him our number one, not necessarily replacing Vicario with him. I think we all know Vicario had to go. We all know Vicario was on his way out. The question was, do we sign a keeper or do we back Kinskey? We've tried to back Kinskey, and I'm fine with it. I'm just saying there are risks with it, and one of those risks is we'll see over the course of the season if some of those, if a flaw gets exposed, or even that shot stopping that wasn't really too much of an issue in the last 7 games, has that improved to the level good enough to be our number one? I guess we'll see over the course of next season.
Next up, let's talk about Djed Spence, as there's been a report from Spurs Journo today saying that Djed Spence is another player who may leave the club this summer. The Englishman is not part of Roberto De Zerbi's plans and would be open to selling him should a club receive a suitable offer. Everton, amongst other clubs, are interested. This has disappointed me a little bit, if it is true, because we've suddenly got that defence all sorted, so balanced. And selling Djed Spence would just mean we'd have to add another right back. And I think Djed Spence is a really good right back. Finally, you know, he got his first start in a World Cup a few days ago. And I think we should try and keep him, to be honest, because, you know, are you going to get a defender, a right back that's better than Djed Spence to fill the role that he's fulfilling in the squad?
And yeah, and the fact that he's versatile really helps. The way he's grown over the last couple of years has been brilliant, and I don't think you're gonna. If you, the problem with him is he Porro's just signed a new contract. We've just signed Robertson, so he knows his only way into the team really now is right back. So we've got a Doggy Robinson now at left back, so we've got cover there finally. So he's not really gonna, in theory, have too many minutes at left back anymore. It's all about competition with Porro, and Porro just signed a new deal. So we've shown our trust in Porro. We know that Porro is much more of a De Zerbi kind of player probably than Djed Spence, if we're being honest. The way he likes to play, we think Porro is going to be probably prioritised, maybe even the leadership group. So if you're Djed Spence, you're looking at the situation thinking, do I move and become number one somewhere? Do I fight for my place at Tottenham and, just continue under De Zerbi? I also think maybe, is there a question to be asked about Spence himself? This is not a criticism, it's just his style of personality. He's a very, very chilled guy. He's a guy who's very self-confident, but, sometimes it has rubbed managers the wrong way. I'm not saying it's going to rub De Zerbi the wrong way. All I'm saying is you look at Tuchel, for example. Obviously, he's really appreciated his skills, but you saw him on the touchline against Ghana really going in, Djed, maybe because he's lacking concentration. He's not completely, is his head somewhere else sometimes because he's just relying on his physical aspects in terms of knowing where to be exactly to where the manager specifications. And what we know about De Zerbi is a very passionate guy. He's a guy who really expects, top effort or top mentality at all times from his players. He's someone, you've seen him on the touchline, he's barking mad, he's going crazy as players. Now, meshing that with someone like Djed, who is just a very laid-back kind of character. You know, you saw him on that Rio Ferdinand podcast coming on with sunglasses on, talking about how he's the best right back and he thinks he's one of the best fullbacks in the league. You saw him on the England podcast the other day saying, he believes he's the fastest and he's just very self-confident. I'm not saying those are bad things, but I do wonder whether there could be a clash of personality with him and De Zerbi, and I do wonder whether he's the right kind of character for someone like De Zerbi. I'm not saying he's definitely not. I'm just saying there is a question mark there for me.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But I'm just looking at more the squad building in terms of the makeup of the backups and the starters and the rotation options. And I just like the dynamic that we've got right now in terms of, you look at the left back, we got Robertson and Dog. You look at right back, you got Djed Spence and Pedro Porro. That's two really good options on both sides. So if we sell Djed Spence, we got to try and rebuild that again. That's all I'm saying. And I get it from Djed Spence's side. Maybe he wants to go somewhere and be first choice. And from that aspect, from Roberto De Zerbi's side, I could see it. I could see it, to be honest, because you saw the clash that Spence and Conte had. I don't know if it was maybe the attitude that Spence had, or maybe he just thought it was a club signing and what have you. But I feel like Conte and De Zerbi could be a similar kind of mentality.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think De Zerbi would definitely appreciate what he brings. It's just whether he's got he's the right character for him. It's a question. But I agree. I think in a perfect world, I wouldn't sell him. I'd keep him, and he's great cover for the squad. He's very useful to have, and he's a good player. So I wouldn't want to sell him.
He's looking at it. I'm at the World Cup. I started for England in the second game. Why would I go back to Tottenham and play second fiddle? This World Cup's probably made him have more belief in himself, doesn't it?
And he's just a very confident guy. He believes in himself, which is great. And I think you don't get to where you are, where Djed Spence is, without that confidence. I wonder what kind of offer would tempt us.
I reckon about 40 million.
Yeah.
Something along that ballpark. I don't think we sell for 30. Yeah, I reckon 40 minimum. And I can see a team like Everton paying that, to be honest. I really could.
Yeah, because how many right backs are you getting that's better than Djed Spence right now on the market, who's available for that kind of price?
International right back. Yeah, he's not the starting right back, but he's covered for both right back and left back, and he started at the World Cup. So for Everton's point of view, it's a no-brainer in my opinion. Everton should definitely be going for that if he's available for that price.
Anyone better than Everton you think could be in for him?
I think he could go to someone like Villa, to be honest. I know Matty Cash had a great season, but I think Spence better than Matty Cash.
Yeah. I'm trying, because all the other teams like Brighton, Bournemouth, are they going to spend 40 million on him?
Rumours of Livramento leaving Newcastle. They could easily get Spence to replace him.
True.
So I think anyone bar the top 6 clubs, I think, would be looking at Spence.
Agreed.
Maybe even Manchester United. You tell me Man United won't be interested in Spence. Who have they got right back?
Dallo.
You know what I mean? He's better than Dallo, in my opinion. So why not? So I think there'd be a lot of suitors for Spence if he was to realistically leave Tottenham. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, we're going to be talking about Cristian Romero. There's been a report from Mundo Deportivo, which was quite interesting, and it said that Tottenham's asking price for Romero has dropped from 70 million euros to 30 million euros, a considerable decrease. However, Atletico Madrid doesn't have the same needs as last season. So apparently we're even struggling to sell him for 30 million euros.
Yeah, I don't think that's our asking price. I don't believe that for a second. I don't know about this report. I'm in the Mundo Deportivo. When did they ever get anything right? So I'm not really worried about that kind of report from Mundo Deportivo. But I don't believe that our asking price is 30 million, especially not here in June, not right now. I think that maybe later down the window, if we're really struggling and we're desperate to sell and, we're trying to make something happen, I can see it happening. But while the World Cup's going on, while there's still a lot of movement to be had, I don't see that being our asking
injured
price.
in the last game.
He did. That's also a concern, actually, because that's an injury he struggled with, obviously, back end of last season. Quite a bad one. He got rushed back for the World Cup. So the fact that he's got off injured, they're saying he should be fine for the knockouts. But you've got to be wary that doesn't become a recurring injury for him.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously rushed himself back. He was in training a lot earlier than maybe people anticipated. So let's hope he doesn't do himself further damage, because whether he stays or most likely goes, an injury is not going to do anyone any favours. Next up, we will talk about Lucas Bergvall. Number of clubs interested in Lucas Bergvall. We know that Spurs are potentially looking to move more, Bergvall looking to move on. Team talk saying that Aston Villa are one of the two sides in talks to sign Lucas Bergvall. Ben Jacobs says that Nottingham Forest are the leading contenders, and Calcio Mercato says that Ruben Amorim wants to take him to AC Milan. So clubs lining up. We saw a report, obviously, when the news broke about Dortmund and Leipzig, and definitely a lot of clubs getting their ears pricked with Lucas Bergvall on the market.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Very talented youngster who has shown already at Tottenham that he's what he's capable of in terms of his ability. And right now, going into next season, if he's available, and I would expect a lot of clubs to be looking at him. Maybe not for... we'll have to wait and see kind of what price they're willing to pay. If we're demanding 50, I don't know if they go for that. But if we're demanding 35 to 40, I think there will be clubs looking at him thinking that's worth a punt. I think he's a good player. We can maybe get him in our starting midfield, and we can help him grow. In terms of someone like AC Milan, obviously Amorim plays that 3-4-3 kind of system. He's wedded to that. Would Bergvall be suited to that double pivot role? Probably, and in Serie A as well. I think he could really flourish in there.
He would thrive there, man. He would thrive. He would become one of their leading midfielders. He really would.
But you got to remember, AC Milan, I know they've not had the greatest time of it of late, but it's still a massive club with big expectation. So him coming in, he comes in with the expectation of you come in now and you start, be our star midfielder, and you have to hit the ground running kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think those 2 years playing in English football would stand him in great stead going to the Serie A. To build up that physicality, the quickness of the league as well, the fast-paced nature of the Premier League. Obviously, going to Serie A is a bit more slower pace and not as physical. So I think he could very quickly be one of the leading players in Serie A. I really believe that.
But do they have 40 million to spend on Bergvall? I don't know about that. Unless they get big money, maybe for Leao.
They're not in the Champions League, are they?
I don't think so. I don't think he had a good season, and we know all Serie A clubs seem to be a bit strapped for cash.
Bergvall, Modric, double pivot.
That'll be awesome. Maybe Bergvall's a make weight for Leao. Who knows? But in terms of Bergvall, at this point, I am expecting him to leave because there's just so much going on in our midfield, and I understand Bergvall. He's been given promises that haven't been kept, and now he's looking at the signings that we're making, and he's like, I ain't never getting in this team, am I? They ain't never going to trust me. So it's best for me to move on and seek a new challenge. And it is a shame because in another world, he may be coming into next season looking to start and as our best midfielder or one of our number 8s. But unfortunately, that's just not the world we're living in. So I think he can't afford for himself to have another season like last season, can he? So I think he would risk that if he stayed.
Yeah, it does pain me to talk about Lucas Bergvall leaving because I've just got so much belief in his ability. I think he is going to go on to be one of the, a massive player within football. But sometimes timing just doesn't work out, and we can't afford to nurse through these young talents in our first team and give them, starting minutes, no questions asked. When you're looking at the players that we're looking to bring in, the reality is he doesn't get in the team. So for his development, he probably does need to move on. So I completely understand that, but it will hurt me to see him go and flourish somewhere else because I think he's a great player, he's a great kid, he's got a great attitude. There's no downsides to Lucas Bergvall apart from where he's at right now compared to the top midfielders in the world. That's it.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see whether he really... Because you never know with young players. There's always a risk. How good are they? Because just because you're a good young player doesn't mean you're destined to be one of the top midfielders. You could just be a good midfielder. And even then, if you sign someone for 8 million, they turn out to be 45, 50 million pound midfielder. That's still a good investment, even if they haven't turned out to be elite of the elite. So we don't know yet but where Bergvall sits there. But all we know is the potential is there for all to see. He's clearly a very, very talented player. But getting 45 million, if we can get 40 to 45 million for him, I still think that represents good value if we can then go and upgrade. I think it makes sense for us as well.
All right. It's time to go back in to the Sandro Tonali and Matheus Fernandes situations. We said yesterday the ITK's claiming that a verbal agreement has been reached by West Ham and Tottenham. But let's start off actually with Sandro Tonali. So, Fabrizio Romano yesterday, he was very adamant, wasn't he, about the situation. He said, I stand by my news. Last week, out of nowhere, exclusive news, Sandro Tonali, Tottenham, full stop. I keep mentioning Tottenham and Tonali and Tottenham. I remain on my position. Tottenham are working on the deal to sign Sandro Tonali, and that remains the case. Deal on Tottenham, Tonali. I am not coming here mentioning Man City. I am not coming here mentioning other clubs. Since I told you Tonali, Tottenham last week, the other clubs no longer mentioned by myself at least. Let's follow the situation, but the deal is on. I think you can see he's getting a bit agitated by all the Tottenham fans bombarding his social media.
Just make it clear, is it Tottenham and Tonali? Yeah? Tonali and Tottenham, 100%.
Deal on. No other clubs.
Yeah, I mean, this is off the back of there's been certain reports suggesting could Arsenal come in, could Man City still there, but he seems adamant it's just Tottenham and Tonali at the moment, no one else.
And Tonali and Tottenham.
Tonali and Tottenham, and no one else seems to be interested, which is obviously really, really positive. As well as what you want to hear from Tottenham fans. As we know, as I've said many times, things change very quickly in football, so just because the situation is that right now doesn't mean that will always be the situation, and doesn't mean in a week's time we might hear of Man City or Arsenal maybe pulling the trigger and saying, okay, we're now in for him. But if we can get the deal wrapped up before that even happens, that would be phenomenal. And I think right now it seems like we've got an opportunity. If we can get that deal agreed with Newcastle, which is obviously going to be a difficult negotiation with a team that obviously hopes to challenge us, and selling a player like Tonali to us, what would that represent for a team like Newcastle? Probably not good things, and that's not the message they want to send out to their fans, is it? But if we can get that deal agreed with him before Man City and Arsenal decide to get their ducks in a row and decide to go for him, if they even are going to do that, I mean, that would be phenomenal. But right now it seems like the focus is on Fernandes, but it looks like that Tonali thing has not gone away.
Yeah, it could very much be like the want and need, or what they're trying to do is get Fernandes in before July the 1st and get Tonali in after July the 1st. That could be a very big possibility, because obviously the financial year ends at the end of this month and then a new one starts. So to separate the two big transfers, that could be what they're trying to do. Yeah, and also maybe there's also more of a pressing need for Fernandes, because we know that United are very seriously interested right now trying to get that deal done. So if we're going to get him, we have to go now, because otherwise we're risking United sealing it. So we're trying to hijack the deal right now because there's a bit of time pressure. Whereas maybe with Tonali, sounds like we're confident at the moment there is no other interest currently other than us, maybe for the price that we're talking about. Do you genuinely believe that we're going to get both of these over the line?
No. But I don't believe it, because all my history tells me we won't. Well, history tells me we won't get either. But, history changes. For the future, history's there, but the future changes.
History never changes, my friend.
You have these big long records. Tottenham never won at Stamford Bridge, but then we go and win there after 28 years. It happens. We never won at Old Trafford for 30 years, and we go and win there. Things can change. Things do change, and maybe Tottenham, being used to being hijacked and gazumped and not getting these things over the line, maybe right now we will. Who knows?
I don't know. You're saying that you don't believe it, but then you're saying things that you do believe it. Do you believe it or not?
I'm saying I don't believe it due to history, but maybe I'm willing to be proved wrong.
Yeah, I think everyone's willing to be proved wrong, to be honest. I don't think any Spurs fan in their right mind actually genuinely believes in their heart of hearts. They might think it might get done, but I don't think there's a genuine belief by anyone that thinks that both these deals are actually going to get over the line because of PTSD. That's the only reason, I think, why people don't think it's going to get over the line. But having said that, I am hopeful. With all the news coming out, everything is positive. But it all just takes for one news drop to everything to change,
Everything seems to point in the right direction for both these deals at the moment, which is Well, I think people can't quite get their head around it with these deals. Like, are they actually going in the right direction? Is this actually positive? Are we actually set to sign both of these players? But I think until we get some serious, big journalists with a big bomber saying full agreement, all that kind of stuff, I think we're still going to have that nagging worry in our minds, like, are we actually going to get these deals over the line?
It feels all a bit too good to be true. Like, we don't get nice things at Tottenham, you know what I mean? It just feels a bit too good to be true. But on Matheus Fernandes, let's talk about him, because who's been speaking is Matti Moretto, said that Fernandes has approved the move to Tottenham, with Roberto De Zerbi very keen on him. For De Zerbi, he's one of the priority signings to bolster the midfield. The player has given his approval for the transfer, and that obviously follows on what the ITKs were saying, that the verbal agreement between West Ham has been set. Fabrizio Romano has said that this is one of the most intriguing cases in the recent months on the market. The player will go to who is offering €1 more in terms of club. So West Ham are ready to accept the best proposal and then is going to be on the player. Of course, but both Tottenham and Manchester United behind the scenes are working on this. Tottenham wants Sandro Tonali and Matheus Fernandes. It's not one or the other. While Manchester United already got Edison from Atalanta, they also want Matheus Fernandes, so both clubs are involved. The story is ongoing. Both clubs are talking to Fernandes, so let's see the situation closely, because Tottenham are pushing very hard, but Manchester United are still there for Matheus, so we have a big battle which we have to follow till the very end. So even like Fabrizio Romano is suggesting that Tottenham are ahead in this battle.
Doesn't say about anything agreed though, like the ITKs are suggesting. So we'll have to wait and see if they're ahead of the game, if they're ahead of Romano or not. But if he's saying that, if Romano is saying, they will accept the bid, that's €1 more, and better financial package, that should lean heavily towards Tottenham, because what we're hearing is Man United are struggling to get that fee agreed. They're struggling with a bit of financial stuff, and Tottenham are the ones willing to put the money on the table. So for me, that sounds really positive for us. And obviously the fact that we're now hearing he's willing to come to Tottenham, he's open to come to Tottenham, I mean, let's just get that agreement confirmed. I think if we've got a fee agreed, he will come to us. I believe that.
Ben Jacobs was just on the United stand, and he said that Matheus Fernandes is expected to decide which club he wants to join by the end of this month, and his chosen destination could be able to shave some of West Ham's asking price off. I mean, I don't believe West Ham are going to shave any money off deciding on Fernandes who he wants to join. I think it'll be a West Ham decision. If you meet our price, we'll accept it.
Yeah, he's suggesting it's the other way around. Romano saying it's on West Ham to accept the proposal that's best for them, and Ben Jacobs saying actually Fernandes will choose where he wants to go, and then that club will hold all the power in the negotiations. But Man United have had that power for a few weeks, haven't they? We haven't really been competing with him. They've had a bit of a run at him for a few weeks to try and get the deal over the line. It hasn't happened. So I don't think West Ham clearly are in the mood to shave any money off. Otherwise, that deal might have been done already.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you deep it though, 85 million for Matheus Fernandes, didn't even get called up for the World Cup for Portugal. How mad is that?
Yeah.
A player that doesn't even get into the World Cup squad is costing 85 million pounds.
It's insane. Yeah, it is. It's a bad valuation. It is a mad valuation, and this market this summer has gone pretty crazy, to be honest, when you look at some of the fees banded about. As I've said, Malo Gusto, apparently Chelsea are demanding 75 million for Malo Gusto. I mean, if Malo Gusto is 75 million, then I don't know what that values everyone else.
They just signed a randomer from Atalanta for like 55 million. Chelsea.
Yeah. So money, it seems as though these prices, I mean, I don't even know what to think anymore with these prices. What is a fair price and what isn't? All I know is he's a very good player who I'd love at Tottenham, who would really improve us in Zerbi. Clearly rates very highly. So if it's 85 million in this current market, if we think we can afford to pay it, whilst also going for other targets, then whatever, go get him. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my thinking on it as well. But look, that is the transfer news as of today.